to always show his reels and stuff, but he's back for a big new topic, and that involves new STEM standards in Pennsylvania. How are you, Dr. Chris?
Oh, really great. Very glad to be here and very excited.
All right, so let's talk about specifically what's happening. Some changes are
Well,
happening.
they actually put out the new standards in STEM in Pennsylvania 2 years ago, but the implementation of them doesn't really start till this year. And this year is really a practice year because next year, 25, 26, there will be testing on the new standards. They call them the STEELs: science, technology, engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability. And I just finished 5 days of training, the highest end training I could possibly, I think, receive on all areas of STEELs. And Pennsylvania is really the first state, and we were one of the last to get the updated STEM or STEAM, as we talk about that, the A in arts. So I actually like STEAM, but because we've used STEM so much, it's
Yeah,
STEM.
that's the
But
interesting conversation. It
yeah,
was on Clubhouse when I was driving all the way late night, and I'm listening, and I'm like, but my girlfriend's sleeping. I'm like, no, I can't get on stage. I was listening on stage about STEAM and STEM, and I'm like, but I think it's great to add arts, right? And define what
it,
arts would be when you're kind of creating that stuff.
oh
What
yeah, with all
arts
the
are,
creativity
yeah.
part of STEM, it's always been in there. It's just that it's hard to change the letters from STEM to STEAM. But Pennsylvania steals. Pennsylvania is one of the last states to update their STEM standards. We really didn't have them. Even the science standards really hadn't been changed for 20 years.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
now we are at the forefront in Pennsylvania public schools of actually having environmental literacy and sustainability as part of the STEM standards. And going through a day of just training in that at the Philadelphia Waterworks last week at what's called the Green Symposium was really eye-opening because I learned so much about meaningful watershed educational experiences. They call them MeWes, which is really just any experience where your students have a hands-on activity that teaches them about the environment. And there's so many areas of the environment to understand where we can connect students to start to make an impact from day one with young, starting with pre-K, really. And the standards that we have now that are also going to be tested on starting next year in fifth grade really involve science being integrated as STEM is with all subjects instead of just this 20-minute period at the end of the class, which I've said at the end of the day, which I've been seeing in so many schools as I've been supervising student teachers. And we can't do that anymore. We really need to make science a key aspect of education and integrate it with ELA and math and
Oh, totally.
all subjects. Art doesn't matter what it is. Family, consumer science, especially at the middle school ages. There's so many opportunities.
I'm definitely. And when you talk about STEM and STEAM, I guess we don't have to worry about that. It's kind of the mixed
Uh,
bag. Right. Okay. Okay. So Pennsylvania, are you hoping, do you think they have the standards at least up to the level of a lot of the other uh states now?
oh, we're ahead now. Yeah, we're probably number one in the country. I don't think that there is another state that has done what Pennsylvania's done by using environmental literacy so heavily. And then these last 4 days, I was at training for technology and engineering, and infused in all those standards are environmental literacy. And we did a lot of practice activities where that we can bring to the classroom that infuse all of
That's
them.
great.
So it's really very exciting to see that. I've always been really into the environment since fourth grade when I did a big compost pile for my science project in fourth grade. And my father had a vegetable garden my whole life, and I was somewhat in charge of that. So having an outdoor classroom, you can have an indoor classroom using something called hydroponics. There's so many ways for
Yeah.
educators to meet the
Hydroponics is what they're
standards.
using. Hydroponics are using to help with climate change too.
Oh, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
gigantic uh potential for educators because we can't all have outdoor classrooms, so you can do it inside and you can really teach students right, in the
Yeah.
classroom, so many areas.
Oh,
And there's
wow.
a lot of grant money out there, and I've got to be involved in writing a grant and all areas of hydroponics. So there's so much going on.
Interesting. And you think about specifically enough the importance we have to continue to teach STEM and STEAM for one reason. With the real assert AI from last year when we talked about it to this year, it's crazy. And we need our kids to know science and math so much, or else they're going to be left behind. And it's not going to be people from overseas that come for jobs. It's going to be AI that comes for jobs now.
Well, AI is, I've been talking to as many people at the top of education about this. It's going to replace many jobs, but the actual implementing and creating all the AI
They need
creates some
someone.
of the
They need
jobs
someone
as
to
well.
drive it. It's just like
Yeah, there's
robotics back in the day. Let me give you an example. It's the robots that we were dealing with. Remember when manufacturing used to be people? Now they have machines doing it. But guess who has to operate a machine?
Oh yeah, no, Tesla just announced, and it's a gigantic thing with Elon Musk about the robots. They're going to replace a lot of these. I won't call them menial jobs because they're so important. They're production jobs
Yeah.
that they have a harder time now finding people to do. And yet now those folks that may have done that job, there's going to be more opportunities for better jobs as long as we as educators are motivating students to look at computer science and all these areas of STEM. And I just read another new study yesterday, clear at the end of 2023, even more STEM jobs, millions of STEM jobs are open now and will be open in the next 5 years. And how important it is for educators and leaders to uh, expose students to the skills that will lead to these jobs and jobs that we really don't even know about, and go back again to the things that I've been talking about, minorities and females, or even more. There's even more data now about those that even go into the fields that are female and minority are not staying in the STEM fields. It's even more of a problem than it was even a couple years ago, because when they don't see others and the stereotypes are still there, and there's not a balance of people in these jobs, they continue to feel. And I've talked to a number of minority females who have had impressive careers, and they've explained to me, I can't stay in the field because I don't feel I'm being treated the way that I should. And it's like a stake in my heart when I hear that,
Yeah.
and see that. And they talk about they need white men to push women, minorities into these fields to show them that we'll support them, and that's what I want to do. I mean, that's
Right.
how I feel. It's my passion. It's always been my passion. And they need female role models. They need male role models who will
Yeah.
push them into STEM, to
Yeah.
believing they can if they want to
Yeah.
go into it. It's really important.
I agree. They got to believe they can. We
Yeah.
need to we need to really push in public education and any type of education.
They want
Science
to
and
build,
math are
yeah.
so important, but again, engineering too is so
Oh, all
important.
those
Yeah, but
areas. Yeah.
and adding them to each course, each class is important because one science class a day is not going to do it. They really
Yeah.
have to become, and really the way people's jobs are not going to be eliminated. They are the ones that are, let's go to Bloom's taxonomies. Kind of explain Bloom's taxonomies to our audience and explain if we're teaching kids only knowledge and comprehension questions, they're never going to get this. It's going to be they will never be able to drive AI or anything.
No, yeah, no, it's the thought process and then the ability to execute, uh, the skills are what we have to be teaching. Rote memory that we learned when
It's
we were
done.
younger.
It's done. It doesn't
So it
matter
serves
anymore.
no purpose now at all. You have to teach them how to think, and it's harder now because they have access to all the information compared to us when we were younger. We didn't have the phones and the Google and everything else, so we don't teach them how to think and how to problem solve and how to collaborate. They're it's going to be more of a struggle. Getting back to the stats that I saw just last night of this new study, 45% of the workforce, as they go into the workforce, are women in the STEM areas. But after 5 to 10 years, only 25% are women. That means that many are dropping out. And that's a scary, scary thought because, why is this happening? And the reasons were the same as we've been hearing, the stereotypes,
Oh
it's
man.
not believed that a strong woman can have a family and have a high-end job in STEM or engineering or computer science. That's terrible thinking for 2024, and completely inappropriate. And if anyone is conveying that, it's really awful for our society.
All right. The best place people can find information, where can they go?
ChrisGoldbergBooks.com. My other thing is and I had mentioned this before, I started substituting in public schools in the spring, and I may strongly considering going back into the classroom while I continue to speak about these topics. I've gotten to speak at colleges and do professional development, readings of my book, but going back and substituting, I substituted, I think, 17 days, and I am been more excited about the possibility of going back and being a teacher. Same excitement I had when I became a second career teacher. So
Oh,
that's how I
that's
feel.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you.
You're listening